Have you ever driven over a bridge late at night and felt a sudden, unexplainable chill? What if I told you there's a bridge in Virginia that locals refuse to cross after dark? This isn't just any old bridge. It's the infamous Bunnyman Bridge, a place where a terrifying urban legend comes to life. Deep in the woods of Fairfax County, there's a narrow, single-lane concrete tunnel that passes under a railroad track. Officially, it's the Colchester Overpass. But to everyone who knows the stories, it's a gateway to horror. The legend speaks of a tall, shadowy figure, dressed in a filthy, decaying rabbit costume. Sounds almost silly, right? A man in a bunny suit. But this isn't a cheerful cartoon character. The Bunny Man is said to lurk in the darkness of the tunnel, and he's almost always seen carrying something sharp and heavy, like an axe or a hatchet. Imagine driving down that lonely road late at night. The woods are pitch black. Your headlights barely cut through the gloom. As you approach the tunnel, your car slows down. The air grows cold, and then you see it a shape standing at the entrance. It's tall, lanky, and its rabbit ears are silhouetted against the concrete arch. As you get closer, you realize it's holding something that glints in your headlights. Your heart pounds in your chest. The stories say this is when the Bunnyman acts. People have reported being chased, their cars pelted with rocks, and some even claim to have seen the figure swinging his axe wildly, as if trying to smash their windows. The most common advice from locals is simple. If you see him, don't stop. Just drive as fast as you can and don't look back. Sightings of the Bunnyman are almost exclusively a nighttime phenomenon, typically happening between midnight and dawn. This is when the area is at its most isolated and silent, amplifying the sense of dread. The silence is said to be broken only by the sound of a distant train whistle, or worse, the scraping of an axe against the tunnel walls. Over the years, countless thrill-seekers have visited the bridge, hoping to catch a glimpse of the phantom. Many leave with nothing more than a spooky story, but others claim to have experienced something truly unsettling: flickering lights, disembodied whispers, or the overwhelming feeling of being watched from the shadows. The atmosphere around the bridge is thick with fear, a place where your imagination can easily run wild. Is it just the setting, or is there really something sinister waiting in that tunnel? So where did this horrifying story come from? Like all great urban legends, the Bunnyman has multiple origin stories, each more disturbing than the last. One of the most popular versions claims he was an inmate from a nearby mental asylum who escaped during a transfer. The story goes that in the early 1900s, a bus carrying patients to a new facility crashed near the bridge. Most were recaptured, but one man, Douglas Griffin, managed to escape into the woods. For weeks, locals found half-eaten, mutilated rabbit carcasses hanging from the trees. The police searched for Griffin, and their search eventually led them to the Colchester Overpass. There, they found him, but it was too late. He had hanged himself from the entrance of the bridge. The legend says his tormented spirit now haunts the area, forever trapped, dressed in the rabbit skin he wore for survival, and lashing out at anyone who dares to enter his territory. Another, even darker version of the tale paints the Bunnyman not as a victim, but as a vengeful spirit. This story tells of a young man who, for reasons lost to time, was publicly and brutally lynched. The angry mob supposedly hanged him from the bridge, leaving his body to swing as a gruesome warning. In his final moments, he is said to have placed a curse on the bridge and the surrounding woods, vowing to return from the grave to seek his revenge. In this telling, the rabbit costume is a symbol of his humiliation, or perhaps an eerie disguise he wears to stalk his victims. He isn't just a lost soul. He's an entity filled with rage, waiting to inflict the same terror he experienced upon anyone unlucky enough to cross his path at night. This version adds a layer of supernatural malevolence to the legend, transforming the Bunnyman from a tragic figure into a truly demonic presence. So, what's the truth behind the Bunnyman? Is there any historical evidence to back up these terrifying tales? Well, this is where the legend gets even more interesting. Historians and local police have extensively investigated the claims, and the results might surprise you. They found no official records of an asylum transfer crash in Fairfax County. There was no mass murderer named Douglas Griffin, and no public lynching ever occurred at the Colchester overpass. The entire backstory, from the escaped patient to the hanged man, appears to be pure fiction. The asylum itself never existed in the way the legend describes. It seems the foundation of this entire chilling narrative is built on nothing but thin air. However, there were two real incidents in 1970 that likely sparked the legend. In October of that year, a couple reported that a man in a white suit, possibly a rabbit costume, threw a hatchet through their car window while yelling at them for trespassing. Just a week later, a security guard at a nearby construction site encountered a similar figure chopping at a porch post with an axe. The man was described as wearing a gray, black, and white bunny costume. The police investigated both cases, but the bunny man was never caught. These two documented, real-life events were just strange enough and scary enough to ignite the local imagination. Over time, these true stories were embellished, mixed with classic horror tropes, and morphed into the full-blown supernatural legend we know today. Even with the historical record debunking the most dramatic parts of the story, the fear of the Bunny Man Bridge is very real. For decades, locals have treated the legend with a serious respect. Parents warn their children to stay away from the bridge, especially on Halloween, when the legend seems to gain new life. Despite the lack of proof, the feeling of dread at the Colchester overpass is undeniable. Is it just the power of suggestion? Or has the collective fear of generations somehow imprinted itself onto this place, creating a genuine paranormal hotspot? Maybe the legend itself has become a self-fulfilling prophecy. When enough people believe in a monster, perhaps the monster begins to believe in itself. The Bunny Man has become more than just a local ghost story. He's an American icon of roadside horror. The legend has been featured in books, television shows, and countless online forums, solidifying its place in the pantheon of great urban legends. It taps into our primal fears, the fear of the dark, of isolated places, and of the unknown stranger hiding just out of sight. The image of a man in a tattered bunny costume holding an axe is so bizarre and unsettling that it sticks with you long after you've aired the story. It's this unique combination of the absurd and the terrifying that makes the Bunny Man an urban legend that simply refuses to die. So, the next time you're on a late-night drive and you see a dark, lonely tunnel up ahead, you might want to think twice. You might remember the story of the Bunny Man Bridge, a place where folklore and reality blur, and where a man in a rabbit suit might just be waiting in the shadows. Would you be brave enough to cross? Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this dive into one of America's creepiest legends, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more tales from the dark side of history. Let me know in the comments if you've ever had a spooky experience on a lonely road. Until next time, stay safe.